Growing up in the 90s was one of the best eras for a kid. With having seen cartoon classics such as X-Men, I've not only fell in love with the story and the characters, just for their awesome powers or abilities, but I could relate to them in a way that I couldn't with the other heroes, seeing as that the X-Men was a cast of outcasts, with them being either feared or misunderstood. Not only do they face the dangers of regular people, but also the mutants that aren't willing to put up with the humans. And some of them believe that they are given that ability to wipe out the human population. But even as the humans standing against the X-Men, they still manage to be the bigger person, making their actions that much more heroic. There'd be a few hero films here and there in the mid-80s or 90s, such as Batman or The Crow and Superman. But it wasn't until X-Men that really jump-started the genre that made it possible for superhero films to be as well known as they are today. With Bryan Singer and the wonderful cast bringing to life these wonderful comic book characters, Patrick Stewart, Anna Paquin, Famke Janssen, Halle Berry, Ian McKellen, Ramjean Ramos, and of course Hugh Jackman. That wasn't the first option, as Russell Crowe is set to play the Antimantium-clawed mutant. But as any fans of the X-Men series can clearly see, that they made a right choice when they chose Hugh Jackman, who has delivered for over a decade one of the best comic book character performances on screen. Everyone shouting for Robert Downey Jr.'s Oscar for Iron Man. Where's Hugh Jackman's? Hey? Bryan Singer, the director of the first two X-Men's, not only opened the door to a whole new trend of films, but also helped blossom the cast's careers. It's pretty cool. Based on the movie, I'll be watching someday, for sure. So it was really great to see this cast all together because I was already a big fan of Halle Berry from her previous films like The Flintstones and a few other films before that. But then I was never a big fan of her as Storm, honestly. She was the only one that didn't really serve the character justice, really. She was just kind of there, which really she wasn't really given much to do in the film, honestly, unfortunately. But I mean, yeah. So other than that, the film I really enjoyed. I loved it a lot growing up, and um, you could relate with Magneto too. Side with him because he only wants to be treated as an equal, but the only way he can do that is to turn everyone into mutants as the same as him. So, you can really understand where he's coming from, and as far as Ian McKellen, he's an incredible actor, from Lord of the Rings and this and so many other films. And that's the main thing. You got all these incredible actors and actresses playing these characters, and I think that's one thing that really helped this spawn these other films. Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, like he's so not like his character in person, like in his interviews and everything. He's just so down to earth guy, really nice. You got Anna Paquin. I loved her from Fly Me Home and other films, and she does really good. I do like how they changed her character from the comics to where she can't fly. To some, it's not really so joyful to have. Because she can't interact with people, so it's like, she wouldn't benefit from it much. So it's like, I see where you're going with this. It made her even more relatable, you know. Um, and growing up, I always thought me hitting puberty, as in the early 2000s, whenever the first X-Men first came out, I was expecting to see my powers rise any time now. I'm not a big fan of milking the cow or continuing the franchise or even making a franchise out of something that's not necessary. To the fact because it gets stale and boring and just dragged on too long. And an X-Men, in the X-Men case, I was actually intrigued throughout the majority of the franchise. Obviously, it's just a lot of nostalgia to it, and it was a great, time for me seeing the film after watching the cartoon and everything. Seeing the characters brought to life was a really great experience. And I collected the toys and everything, like even the cartoon toys, the little Matchbox metal figures. I wish I still had them. I have some somewhere around here somewhere. But then I'd collect the little toys based off of the movie, where it'd be uh have the actor's name on the box, like Halle Berry as Storm or Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I thought it was really cool for a collector's item and someone that's a big fan of the actor. X-Men First Class, with the New Era, and then Newer Mutants, and then Professor Xavier and Magneto being young was really interesting to see. But then they kind of milked that to death too with the later films, even though I loved Days of Future Past a lot. But after that, with Apocalypse and uh, Phoenix, I was just done with it by then, honestly. But then Logan, you know, there's so many other good films that they've done with the franchise to keep it fresh, that's another reason why it kept going as long as it did. What do you think about this franchise? And let me know what you think down below. I'd like to know so we can talk more about it in depth.